Okay guys, we're back with 9.6 applications of the discriminant. So the discriminant, it's kind of a fancy word, but all it means is the b squared minus 4ac part that's under the radical in the quadratic formula, which we looked at yesterday. So the quadratic formula, again, is negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what the discriminant really is, okay, is just this b squared minus 4ac part, okay? It's just that part. That's the discriminant. So, not too bad. Okay, and what the discriminant is useful for is to just find the number of solutions. So if you're just wondering how many solutions the quadratic equation has, you can just plug in the discriminant to see. So if you solve for b squared minus 4ac, plug in b, plug in a, plug in c, and it's positive, then the equation has two solutions. And this is the most common. If your b squared minus 4ac is 0, then the equation will have one solution. And if your b squared minus 4ac is negative, then the equation will have no solutions. So now, to find the number of solutions, okay, it's pretty simple, but I do want to remind you that you need to have it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 before you can decide what is a, what is b, and what is c. So here we can see this equation is in this form, and it has an a of 1, a b of negative 2, and a c of negative 9. So I'm just going to substitute in for a, b, and c. So b squared is negative 2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 9. That gives me a 4, plus negative 9 times negative 4 will be a positive 36. 4 plus 36 is 40. 40 is positive. So the discriminant is positive, and up here it told me, okay, if it's positive, it has two solutions. So this section is really not that bad. If you can do the section before this and solve the quadratic formulas, you can definitely do this section. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Second page. So I'm going to recopy this just because it makes it easier. So if this is your b squared minus 4ac, and this is going to tell you the number of solutions. So if it's positive, it's pretty regular, and it's going to have 2. If it's 0, it's going to have one solution. And the reason being, if you have radical 0, well, the only thing you can get is a 0. You don't have a positive and a negative. Same if this is a negative, okay? Can you do the square root of a negative number? No, you can't. That's why there are no solutions here. Because this is what you're putting under the radical. So if what you put under the radical is positive, you come out with 2. If what you put under the radical is 0, you come out with one answer. If what you put under the radical is negative, well, you're not allowed to do that, so you have no solutions. Should be none. So. Okay, so let's do that for 2 more problems. So here I have my first problem. Okay, x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. So I have an a of 1, a b of negative 8, and a c of 16. So I'm just going to plug that in. I have b squared, so negative 8 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, and c, which is 16. So negative 8 squared is 64, and 4 times 16, that's actually 64 as well. So negative 64 minus 64, which is a 0, okay? So you have a 0 for the discriminant, which means you have only one solution. I'm going to abbreviate that. So now let's do the second one, okay? So now we're working on negative 3. Oops, that's supposed to be highlighting. Sorry guys, disappeared. But now we're working on negative 3 squared minus 4x equals 0. I'll just quickly copy this part back in. I'm sorry, you can fast forward if you want. 64 minus 64 is 0, so it has one solution. Okay. So now I can do, in the second one, my A is -3, my B is 4, and my C is -5. So I have B squared, so 4 squared, minus 4 times A, which is -3, and C, which is -5, which gives me a 16. -4 times -3 is +12, times -5 is a -60. That's actually going to give me a -44, so my discriminant is a negative. Okay. Which means, it's not allowed to be a negative, so it has no solutions. Okay. I don't know what's happening there. Sorry guys. I'm getting a little itchy. It should be a negative. So you have no solutions. Okay. So let's go ahead and try some of these checkpoints. Okay, so here I have -x² minus 5x minus 9. So the instructions are telling me to just tell if the equation has two solutions, one solution, or no real solutions. If it was telling me to solve it, I would need the whole quadratic formula. If I just want to know how many solutions, I can just plug into the discriminant. So here I have an A of -1, a B of -5, and a C of -9. So my B squared minus 4AC is going to be -5 squared minus 4 times -1 times -9, which will be a +25. +4 times -9 will be a -36, which you can do the math and it'll be -11. Or if you want to, I'm going to give you a trick here. I know that this one's bigger. I know this is going to be a negative number, so that's just going to be a negative. Now that I know it's a negative, I know I'm going to have no solutions. Okay. And then that is my answer. Okay, let's look at number 3. Okay, so for number 3, I have an A of 8, a B of 8, and a C of 1. So my B squared minus 4AC will be an 8 squared minus 4 times 8 times 1. So that'll be a 64 minus 32, which is a 32, which is positive. Or if you didn't want to figure that out, you could just say, okay, this one's bigger minus this one, it's positive, which means that I have two solutions. Okay, so go ahead and try this one on your own, and try this one on your own. Okay, you can pause the video to try those, okay? That would be the best. Just pause it. Okay. So if you remember from a few sections ago, the solutions are actually the same as x-intercepts, because when we graph it, it's going to be where it crosses the x-axis. Those are our solutions, so those are the x-intercepts. Okay, so x-intercepts and solutions go hand in hand. So if I want to know how many x-intercepts there are, that's the same as wanting to know how many solutions there are. Well, that's something that we already know how to do. That's what we've been doing. So if it asks you to find x-intercepts, number of x-intercepts, it's the same thing. Okay, so let's do the first one. Okay, so we can see for this problem, okay, y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 1, that we have an A of 1, should be the pen, an A of 1, a B of -2, and a C of -1. So let's plug that in. So B squared is -2 squared minus 4 times A1 and C -1. So -2 squared will be a 4, minus 4 times -1 will be plus 4, which will be an 8, okay, which is positive. Okay? Which means that since it is positive, the equation will have two solutions, which also means the graph will have two x-intercepts. Okay, it'll have the same number of solutions as it does x-intercepts. So let's look at the next one. Okay, we have the equation y equals x squared minus 2x plus 3. So here I have an a of 1 and a b of negative 2 and a c of 3. So let's plug that in. So I have negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 3, which will be a 4, minus a 12, which is a negative 8. Well, that's a negative. Okay, so since it's negative, we know it's going to have no solutions, which means the graph is actually going to have no x-intercepts. And I do want to point one thing out. So just because there's no solutions and no x-intercepts does not mean that it's not a valid equation, okay, and that you can't graph it. Because if I were to graph it, all it means for that second one is that either it's a parabola that opens down and it has its vertex below the y-intercept line, because if the vertex is below the x-intercept or the x line and it's going down, it's just never going to cross. See, it's never going to go up and cross. Likewise, it could also be a graph that, and it doesn't have to be on the y line, it could be over here, and parabola that goes up and it just has its vertex above. Okay, that's very valid. It's allowed to do that. Okay? So just know that just because it doesn't have any solutions and it doesn't have any x-intercepts doesn't mean we can't graph it. We can still graph it. Okay, so we're at the very end of the lesson. I'm going to do one of the checkpoints with you. So let's look at number 5. Okay, and same as before. I have an a of 1, a b of negative 2, and a c of 1. So I'm going to use my b squared minus 4ac. So it'll be a negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1, which is a 4, minus 4, which is a 0, and a b squared minus 4ac of a 0 gives me one solution, but it doesn't want solutions, it wants x-intercepts, so my answer is 1 x-intercept. Okay, go ahead and try this one on your own, and try this one on your own, and you are done with tonight's notes. Hope that was not too bad. We only have one more section after that.